Amir, it's so good to hear your voice. We've been gone for almost 6 weeks on the Cold Steel podcast, and I'm thrilled we're coming back with even more new content and exciting features. Tell listeners about what's been going on.
We're really excited about the new features that we have coming up. One of which I want to highlight, which is our YouTube channel. We're planning to release a lot more episodes in the upcoming future that'll have a video component with them. We just think this is a natural fit for a surgical podcast. So listeners and now viewers should head over to our YouTube channel to check out episodes as they're released that will have both an audio component, which we've always had, as well as a video component.
That's awesome, Amir. We're so pleased to bring that to the listening and now viewing audience. And today we have an amazing repeat guest that you're going to tell us about. Welcome back.
For this episode, we had the opportunity to bring back Dr. Mark Soliman, Chief of Colorectal Surgery at Advent Health Orlando, to talk about his exciting new venture to develop a social media app for surgeons. The app is called SurgeON, and Dr. Soliman talks to us about entrepreneurship and what it really takes to build a new social media platform. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback at podcast.cjs@gmail.com or tweet at us at CanJSurge. Thanks again, Dr. Soliman, for joining us again on the Cold Steel podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you on our first episode talking about robotic surgery and innovation and all that good stuff. So I'd highly encourage all of our listeners to go back and listen to that episode. And we're lucky enough to have you again on the second, on round two. So Dr. Soliman, for anyone who hasn't listened to that first episode, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're currently practicing, and what's been going on with you since we last caught up?
It's been an eventful couple of years. Yeah, thanks so much, Amir and Chad, for having me, and the Canadian Surgical Society for this privilege. So I'm at Advent Health in Central Florida. I'm the Chief of Colorectal Surgery, and it's a big blessing to be able to take care of the faculty and the hospitals that I do. I actually oversee 17 hospitals in terms of the administration of colorectal surgery, the expansion, the recruitment, the research, the education, the hiring, and so on. And so it's been a tremendous blessing to be able to serve the community in the capacity that I'm able to.
That's fantastic. And we're aware of all the many irons that you got going in the fire.
Yeah.
So, one of the big things that we wanted to get you on to talk about today was this new venture that you started. I don't know how you can manage to do something like this on the side, just your side hustle, as they say, which is this new social media app for surgeons. And obviously in the time that we're living in, social media is an incredibly crazy place on many different levels. But can you tell us a little bit about this new social media platform that you're designing for surgeons?
Yeah, so this platform is called SurgeON. It's a play on the word surgeon, of course, and actually, basically, it during the pandemic and even before that, and certainly afterwards, we've noticed obviously a massive benefit to staying connected in all forms of life, whether it's face-to-face events, whether it's in the operating room, whether it's from a personal perspective, and even a professional perspective. It would not come as a surprise to see that, the reason, Amir, you and I and Chad and all of us have actually, come to know one another is through the magic of social media. And there is no doubt that social media has certainly evolved the manner in which we communicate, in which we learn, and in which we actually take care of our patients. SurgeON actually takes the good of Twitter, the good of Facebook, the good of YouTube, the good of Instagram, and kind of leaves the bad and amalgamates all that into one surgical centric ecosystem. And it's a iOS, Android, and web application that launched just over a year ago, August of 2021. And basically it's our answer to the, let's call them deficiencies that exist within public social media. It's a big lift. It's a very ambitious endeavor, to say the least, but it is something that myself and my partners that bit this project off are deeply inspired by and think that this is truly the future of surgical social networking.
It sounds so phenomenal, and obviously the potential, and I'm sure where you're going to take it's super exciting, and it's going to be unbelievable. Can you tell us what SurgeON really is structurally, and then particularly what makes it unique? You know, you kind of hinted at a little bit there, but what really separates it mechanically and in terms of the delivery and the potential from the typical other social media platforms, what we all use or don't use?
Yeah, so it's I mean, mechanically and structurally, it is a standalone application. The At the crux of it is for surgeons by surgeons. In that it is a completely custom built application, a custom built web application, where the surgeons live at the center of it. Data is not collected. The privacy is of the utmost importance. I don't like my data being sold. I don't like my data being collected. And so that is at the central ethos of it. As a personal data is not collected, therefore it cannot be sold. The differentiators of this, if you look at multiple Venn diagrams of where the feature sets of Facebook are, the feature sets of Twitter, the feature sets of YouTube are, where they excel is in the ability to curate ads and the ability to monetize themselves and the ability to do all this, but where they fall deficient is the manner in which they encourage posting from surgeons in an anonymous, encrypted, private, protected manner. So at the central ethos is that privacy, it's the encryption, it's the idea that we are all in this together. It's all about the idea of advancing surgery as a unit together. Also, we find that there's tremendous capabilities of public social media, but where the same thing is, or the deficiencies are. For example, there is no discoverability, and not discoverability in a legal sense, but I can't easily discover, for example, what's happening in as a colorectal surgeon. I can't easily see what's happening in my urologist's operating room, what's happening in my gynecologist's operating room. And just like I want to go to, I want to peek through the window of OR7 while I'm in OR9 next door to see what my gynecology colleague is doing. How do they handle that ureter? Or how do they handle that ovary, for example? We took that same approach in SurgeON, in which it's an open, community-centric approach in which there's one colorectal community, there is one gynecology community, there's one urology community, not a robotic community, not a laparoscopic community, but all the specialty exists in one central community. And it's open so that a colorectal surgeon can easily wander into an orthopedic surgery community and learn exactly what's happening and what ideas I can steal and bring to my own specialty. So that's kind of where we feel that the big differentiators are, in that it's open, it's encrypted. There are only verified surgeons in the application. If you're not verified, you're not a physician, you're not in. We don't want you in that regard. We only want to ensure that we have privacy and protection of the users of the application.
And Mark, maybe at some point you can actually say, I've seen the little mock-up of the app itself. Unfortunately, I don't think it's available in Canada yet. Is that right?
That's right. And so, and one of the reasons we are soon to launch there, though. One of the reasons is, and I'd be happy to walk you guys through it, but one of the reasons is, right now we have we verify every surgeon in the platform prior to joining by what's called NPI verification, which is National Provider Identifier. It's just an ID number that we have. Those ubiquitous identifying numbers don't exist in many other countries, in the UK and in South America, Central America, and so on. And so as we begin to scale outside of the United States, we want to make sure that the algorithms, that the data privacy policies and everything that we have in the application are solid, which they are, as we then roll out to now the next phase of our verification processes, in which there's going to be there will be a manual verification process that has to occur once we roll out of the United States. And so stay tuned, it will be coming.
Yeah, so at some point, I think I'll get the mock-up of the the video and how the platform works, because I think it helps users a lot. Or even if you want to share it now, that's fine. but at some point we'll put it in the YouTube video for our YouTube channel so people can actually see what the platform looks like. So like why not just attach yourself to Facebook or Twitter? Like I know you like, I think you and I are both part of the Sage's Facebook colorectal group. That's a very successful group. I don't know, I think it has thousands of members and people share all sorts of cool content. Like what's the downside of having stuff on other social media platforms?
Yeah, so the downside really exists in that. I mean, first of all, there's no doubt there's a tremendous amount of benefits in existing in a common space that's very easy and accessible, like Facebook or Twitter. And this is not necessarily meant to replace all that. It's meant to augment that in a sense. The challenges occur in situations where, let's say, for example, I want to post very vulnerable. I want to post potential complications. I want to post information that could potentially have some legal ramifications to what I'm posting. And the reality is, if I post something today on Facebook or I post something today on Twitter, I do not own that information anymore. So I can therefore never publish it, or I can therefore never use it for a podium presentation, because I've quote unquote published it on a public platform like Facebook or Twitter, and they own it at that point. The other thing is, as you know, Facebook and Twitter recently, and Instagram and LinkedIn and all these platforms are fraught with criticism about the data privacy and the manner in which they're actually conducting the platforms. There are lots of limitations of the platforms, one of which is the discoverability. There are multi-million-dollar lawsuits that occur because surgeons are tweeting or posting videos of patients or photos on public social platforms in unverified environments, meaning potential PHI gets disclosed on a public platform like Facebook, or public platform like Twitter. And these have ultimately turned into multi-million-dollar lawsuits that have taken physicians out of practice. Licensure has been seized, and hospitals have been censured and lost Medicare CMS accreditation, at least here in the United States. So this is a big deal, and there are massive social media policies that have been instituted at multiple institutions because of these lawsuits. And I mean, the reality is there's not much trust at the moment in big tech and in Silicon Valley and so on.
Yeah, and I think maybe we'll circle back to the whole issues with the social media in a second. Maybe get your thoughts on like the future of Twitter and stuff. But what do you think? There are other social media platforms for physicians out there, like Doximity, and I even saw something else the other day on Twitter that someone was posting about. But like, I get the sense that none of them have been particularly successful, particularly for surgeons. Like, you think about the American College of Surgeons had this kind of communities thing that they had built into their website. I don't think was particularly successful. What do you think? What's your vision for doing things differently, so that people actually find value in hopping off Facebook and Twitter?
Yeah, I think that for one to think that mass migration of a very confident population like surgeons overnight to something familiar, to something new, for us to think that's going to happen overnight is laughable to a certain extent. And so we have to be 10x better than what the other platforms offer. And one of the many reasons that we feel like we are 10x better, actually we've seen exponential growth of the platform over just the short year that we've been actually out, is the feature set that exists and the kind of the totality of the community. I'll give you a quick example, and I'll show you this one if we have an opportunity for me to demo the application. But let's say right now I have a robotic case in the morning that I need to review for, and there's not really a good. I mean, where do I go to review that? I'm going to go to Facebook. I mean, Facebook, fantastic, but the problem is you can't pull those posts back out. I may have had a phenomenal conversation on Twitter a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, but there's no prayer of me to get that back out. So one of the ways that we're 10x better in those regards is our ability to catalog and retrieve posts, and then retrieve specific videos or webinars or those that have images in it, and rank order them according to the true community vote and not the vote of an algorithm of someone that is not a physician, for example. So I think where some of the other institutions and other organizations that have tried this is they did it, of course, with the best purposes in mind, and of course with the best intent at heart. But I think that we're taking a slightly different spin on this, because we're not just for general surgery, we're not just for colorectal, we're not just for one specialty, but we're for any procedural specialty, and we've taken it to that level with all the different feature sets that we've kind of built in. And really what we've done is we've taken a competitive landscape analysis in which we've looked at what are the really good things about Facebook and what are the problems. Same thing for Twitter, same thing for YouTube. And we looked at basically all the problems that exist. And there a few themes arise when you take that approach. One of the themes is post categorizability. In other words, you can't really retrieve those posts. One of those is fragmentation. You don't know where to go for a specific specialty. One of those is physician verification. I mean, right now, Twitter, you have no clue if a physician that actually says they are, Dr. Amir Farouk is actually Dr. Amir Farouk. You think he is because he kind of, but you don't really know, because anyone can spin up an account. So physician verification is also one of those problems thematically. So when you actually take it, there are 5 pillars of thematic problems that emerge when you take a true audit of all the current public social media platforms. And effectively what we've done is, in a very algorithmic and the most scientific manner possible, we have mapped solutions to each one of those thematic problems. And that's basically where the feature set of SurgeON was built. So we hope that these thematic solutions that we've come up with, designed for our colleagues by us surgeons, doing user testing, ensuring that the manner in which we're addressing a specific problem truly solves, truly is the solution or a solution to a problem, and we're quick to respond to the feedback of our colleagues. We hope that actually allows it to be adopted even quicker. And we've seen a tremendous, very, very robust and very heartwarming kind of uptick in the utilization of SurgeON.
That sounds so exciting, Mark. And just listening to you, you've already taught me personally so much about the landscape in the last 15 minutes here. I want to drill down a little bit, if you're willing, on the concept of verification, not only because I think it's probably at the forefront of a lot of people's minds, given Twitter and the discussion in general broadly right now, but not to be too personal. In Calgary here, we've had 2 surgeons actually commit suicide in the last 6 weeks or so. And when I listen to you and how you describe this platform, it seems like if you can get the verification piece and the privacy piece and the security pieces solid and really different from all the other examples you mentioned, then this could be a really safe space to talk about some of these issues that maybe are beyond the clinical context of what we do every day. I'm curious if you can sort of drill down on the verification side of it, and if you see a vision for that sort of sharing non-clinical conceptual domain.
Yeah, actually, Chad, thank you so much for bringing that up. Physician verification is a big deal. And right now, everyone on the platform has a blue check mark. We have verified their identity. We know who they are. We know their taxonomy. We know that state they practice in. Not because we're collecting necessarily that information, but we use it for verification, and then it's gone after that. And when we go international, it's going to be a 2-step verification process in which, obviously university type email plus an ID badge to ensure that you are who you say you are, is part of that process, because I want to make sure that if I'm truly opening myself up for, guys, I had this terrible complication. What do I do? How do I handle this? What would you guys do? And what would you guys how would you handle this? I want to make sure that I'm actually speaking to trusting colleagues that's not going to take it and use it against me as competition, or use it, sell it to the press, or leak it to the press, or have the press themselves use that for a lawsuit, for example. And so, this is a very, 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 very serious thing that we've thought extensively about. And actually we've had multiple healthcare attorneys, multiple firms help us out with the best verification process to get through this. We've designed, I think, a pretty robust methodology to do it. And to that point, and Chad, kind of to your what you're mentioning, is we don't just have surgeons on the platform. We actually have psychiatrists, and we have coaches and self-help coaches and psychologists on the platform for self-care communities and also palliative care communities. Taking care of surgical patients is not just cut, cure, move on. It's how do I, as a high-functioning type A individual, manage when my surgeries fail and I hurt a patient, or when I'm not at my best and I'm very vulnerable, and I can't show my trainees, and I can't show my nurse practitioner, I don't even show my wife how I'm struggling with something. Sometimes the only person that'll understand me is another surgeon who has been through 7, 8, 10 years of training just like me, who has been up all night stressing out about a patient. Sometimes the best person is somebody that has walked in my shoes and walks in my shoes today. And so we're take very seriously to ensure that the people that you're talking to are who they say they are and can truly lend a helping hand. And we have had physician assisted we have had self-care community and depression and PTSD as a surgeon webinars that have been hosted on the platform already by psychiatrists and self-care coaches. And those are probably some of our best attended webinar streams that occur, and those that are actually consumed in post, because it's such a prevalent issue. Because it's sad when anyone takes their life, but it just tears at your heart when it's a colleague of yours that lost their lives and had ultimately sacrificed themselves because of the calling that which we're all called in the medicine. And it's a sad situation, but I think that this, if this offers a scintilla of help for one person, and then it was all worth it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You have that sense, I think, like we all do in those situations, that if there had just been the right opportunity for, personal disclosure and a safe environment, that perhaps the outcome would have been different. So I'm really excited about your platform, and I think it could be not only revolutionary but really game changing on the non-clinical side as well. When we just switch gears a little bit, I think when we all listen to you, your passion for this and the importance of this comes through, but also your language. You sound like an entrepreneur, which is so great, and I mean that in the best sense of that word. Some of Amir and our best friends in Canada, I would also classify as entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial surgeons. I'm curious where that bug comes from, and what the initial inciting trigger has been for you for this, because it's real exciting.
Yeah, thank you. I think that in the heart of each surgeon, we fix problems, right? I mean, if something's broken, we fix it. There's a cancer, we take it out. There's a bone broken, we set it. Entrepreneurship is not necessarily very different than that. We see a problem, we find a solution for it. And although this is not as binary, black and white, this is broken, put a stitch in it. This is a little more complex, and that it's multiple complex layers, and there's not one single particular solution to this. And I think that the complexity of trying to solve this massive issue of privacy, encryption, physician verification, categorizability of posts, CME, and bullying, and all these things that occur within current social media, that challenge actually kind of brings out the surgeon in me, in which we want to fix it. And I think that equates very nicely to that entrepreneurial spirit, in which we will stop at nothing to help our patients. We will stop at nothing to make sure that we're delivering the best, most evidence-based care. And I think that it's not very much different than that, in that we're going to do research to figure out what the best features are for the platform. We're going to figure out what the big problems to solve. We're going to distill it down to the common root causes of what are the true issues, and attack it according to that. And I would say we literally take people apart and put them back together for a living, and we do it mostly successfully. And so I think that for us to build a little application like this and deal with complex issues like we're dealing is not nearly as complex as surgical decision making in rectal cancer or whatever, but we can learn it just like many other people do.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about what that process was like of building a team? Because it is different in one sense in that yes, there's a team in the operating room, and yes, you have to manage that team, but this is very different. This is not something that you can really just drive by pure force of will. Like, you have to build a team. You really have to think about, like, there's a whole process in which you can build a company like this. So can you tell us a little bit about like what went into developing this company, and how did you go about it, and what was your team like, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, thanks for that. And actually, there was two other surgeons and a finance guy. Mario Leba, who's a general surgeon out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Jeremy Hefner, who's a trauma surgeon, robotic surgeon out of Lima, Ohio. And Joseph Griego, finance guy, CPA out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, who actually, Mario started the company and then brought a few people on. And then within a few months there, they contacted me because of some of the surgical video content that they saw online that I had been producing. And they said, we want to build an application centered mostly around videos and kind of product descriptions and, surgical products and surgical devices. And, it was a fantastic idea, a revolutionary idea, but at the time it certainly needed a little more thought and research. And we did that. And we kind of corralled the team, we corralled the minds, and that's when we started reading books. And I read and watched about, I think a million YouTube videos, went to YouTube University, and I think about startups and, all the different technological incubators that exist, understanding exactly how a startup is launched and exactly how they fail and exactly what to learn from failures and from successes. And I feel like it's no different than an M&M. I feel like it's definitely no different than prepping for a case. You see how you can arrive at success. There's multiple paths to get there, how people have failed. And really what it comes down to is you just become a student of the trade. And it's not without failure, it's not without persistence, and it's not without truly being bought into it. And I think that any one of us, I think in surgery, if you go into this profession for money, you will be the most miserable person ever. And I think if you try to go into a startup like this for the belief that you're going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or whoever it is, you're going to be sorely disappointed, because it's never an overnight success. It's a over 10-year success. It's that quiet perseverance, that 10,000 hours that you have to put into a project that's going to grant success ultimately. And I think that entrepreneurial spirit really came from residency, in that it's a persistent, you're up 4 a.m. every day, you're working out, you're reading, you're studying, you're just hammering the books, you're showing up, you're doing this, you're failing, you're succeeding, you're failing, you're succeeding, and you hope to succeed more than you fail. And, the team that we built is not dissimilar to any one of our OR teams. It's not dissimilar from the team in our clinic. In that, you become the surgeon becomes the captain, if you will. I quickly took over as CEO of the company in terms of the directionality of it, because of the I think the sheer will and sheer muscle we're trying to just get through it, and through that it became the idea of building teams, playing up on people's strengths, knowing that you can't necessarily build up on someone's weakness, but play up their strength and find someone else to fill in a gap of a weakness that exists on a team. Whether it's on the development team, on the marketing team, the finance team, the CME team, the content team, recruiting people to the platform, recruiting key opinion leaders to run each of the communities. Each and every one of the team has a key role. and each one of us has a sphere of influence that we've created to ensure the success of the platform. So it's a lot of luck too. So here we are.
Was there anything surprising about the process that you didn't know about? Like we've all been sort of, like we've seen Shark Tank, there's the Pitch podcast, like we've been exposed to entrepreneurship, but you wonder how accurate some of these portrayals are. So was there anything surprising about this whole process that you didn't think about?
Yeah, definitely how hard it is. This, we figure, we've been through surgical residency, we've, trauma surgery and all this stuff, all sort of stuff. And there's no doubt it's hard, but it's that quiet persistence that venture capitalists and that, car wash entrepreneurs and, the people on Shark Tank, Hershevek and all these people on Shark Tank and Mark Cuban always talk about. Like, oh, no, that's just them because they're not me. I got this. And sure enough, you realize that it's that quiet, deliberate persistence that absolutely they're not lying about. You're gonna want to quit. You're gonna find issues. You're gonna find obstacles. You're gonna find challenges. And the people and entrepreneurs that succeed, according to them, and what we're seeing is that those that are able to thrive in different climates and thrive in different obstacles and truly grow something out of it. And it's not dissimilar to the current healthcare climate that we have right now. I mean, almost every single hospital system, at least in the United States, many of them are underwater in the sense that they pulled in less money than they collected. And we're using that, at least in my hospital system, as an opportunity that we're creating basically lemons out of lemonade. We're finding opportunity in chaos. And we're trying to figure out, like, okay, in this hurricane, in this tornado, in this storm, in this mess, how can you capitalize on it to improve the care of patients throughout the community? And it's exactly what we're doing in SurgeON through the chaos that's occurring in Facebook, through the chaos that's occurring in Twitter right now, and through all the different issues of social media. How do we capitalize it to ensure that integrity and trust is at the center of this? And it's hard. It's really, really hard. Capital is hard to come by, and a lot of it's bootstrapped, and a lot of it's just basically, again, by sheer will and muscle to get to where we are.
Mark, obviously this is such an exciting idea, and there's clearly a value proposition here. How do you envision this becoming self-sustaining, or is there an opportunity for? I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to drill down here to business side, but I'm just curious, like, for a fledgling social media company, how do you actually think about building revenue? I hope you're not going to make us all pay $8 for
no. So the application is similar. Think of it like a SAGES meeting or ACS meeting. The reason why those meetings are able to be done is by industry grants, by unrestricted educational grants, sponsorships, and subscriptions, and also member benefits and whatnot. And so we've taken a very similar approach in that. Right now, we're funded a lot by unrestricted educational grants to produce webinars on the application. So we offer regular CME-facing webinars. Those are continuing medical education webinars here in the United States, and you guys have similar. And so we basically charge some companies to actually allow us to produce these, and we get back unrestricted educational grants that basically help keep the hosting and the development going. Similarly, so that's one side of it, the educational piece of it. Of course, we have the industry sponsor piece. One of our main industry sponsors at the moment that we collaborate with is Intuitive Surgical. Intuitive Surgical, actually, we have an integration with them, first of its kind thing, and we're super excited about it, in which anyone that has the My Intuitive application on their phone is able to register for SurgeON, and immediately becomes verified in the platform. And what that does is it pulls in from My Intuitive all their case data, all how many numbers they've done, which hospitals that they operate at. It allows, again, just an extension of their ecosystem onto a surgical social platform like this. So that's educational grants, sponsorships, and a few of the things are like what we did here in Orlando, the Orlando Colorectal Congress, and we have many other meetings coming up in which we actually have a full event application built in. So for example, you go to a SAGES or ACS, or in our case, the Orlando Colorectal Congress, there's a full meeting app in the application in which you see who's speaking at the meeting, who's attending the meeting. You can chat with those participants. You can visit a user's profile, see, all right, Dr. Farouk's speaking at these 3 different meetings across the year, and I said, let me see exactly which lectures he's given, and I can see a history of every lecture that you've given. So we've basically been able to weave all these things together. So that meeting hosting was also an additional vertical revenue source for us, and so. And and the list goes on as to how these are funded.
That's so exciting. And if I could just make a comment, like clearly one of the neat things about this is you've leveraged so many of your connections and the things that you've done in the past and really integrated that into the app, right? Like, the connection with Intuitive, the connection with the broader colorectal community. I know the virtual colorectal surgery sessions they now host on SurgeON as well every Sunday. So like it's pretty, you think about what is all this different work that you've done? How does that play into things? But clearly, all the work that you've done up to this point, it all builds on itself. So that's pretty amazing. I'm curious, just to go off on a tangent for 1 second, what do you think is going to happen with Twitter? Like, it's just a great total madhouse. Do you think there's some secret genius plan under all this, or do you think Elon Musk has bitten off more than he can chew? And maybe more specifically, do you think physicians should be getting off Twitter?
I mean, of course, I have a measured approach to Twitter. I think that there's absolute benefit to Twitter. I think that there's so much momentum behind Twitter. It is a massive train that's running 100 miles an hour. It's difficult for one specific individual to derail it in its entirety. You may slow it down. There may be obstacles in its way. You may tar and feather it. You may cause issues to it, but I think that there's enough momentum behind it and platforms like Facebook, like Reddit, like YouTube, for example, that you're probably never going to get rid of it, but you may change the public perception of it and who interacts with it on the daily. I think what we see, for example, on Facebook is the daily and monthly active users on Facebook are actually declining. They've been declining for some time with the younger age population, and we're seeing it in now kind of our age group is also kind of leaving Facebook in droves because of the privacy issues. Twitter right now, we're seeing a massive uptick in the numbers simply because it's kind of like, I want to see what that car accident's looking like. I want to see the mass chaos that's occurring. I don't know how sustainable it is. Having said all that, I do think that Elon Musk's vision of converting Twitter into that public square, taking that WeChat approach in which it's public conversation, it's payments, NFTs, cryptocurrencies, chat, encryption, all these things, video, monetization. I think conceptually there's a lot of really great things in that. The methodology by which he's going about it, I think, can be debated. But he's built some insanely successful companies that people thought were basically impossible to do. So I wouldn't count it out. I'm excited to see what he's doing. And just like when you have one robotics company, people kind of question the platform, but when you have many more coming to the foray, it tends to validate the technology and validate what's happening. So in this case, I think that there's a lot of validation that's occurring, and I think that the competition is very healthy to push Twitter, to push Facebook, to push Reddit, to push SurgeON to be even better than they already are.
That's very, very well said. You've talked about some of the DNA that is synonymous in surgery and building an entrepreneurial endeavor like you have. Outside of that, do you have any sort of Cole's notes or general thoughts in terms of advice for surgeons trying to work their way into that entrepreneurial space, whether it's tech or social media, or whether it's developing a widget, whatever that is? What sort of advice, looking back in terms of the process you've gone through, would you give others like us?
Yeah, I think there was there's one book I think that probably helped distill this down the best for me. It's called The Lean Product Process. The author's name is escaping me at the moment. It's on my bookshelf back here, but The Lean Product Process. And in that, he talks about basically solving a problem. And it comes down to whether it's an instrument, whether it's a website, whether it's an app, whatever it is, solve a problem big enough to be worthy of solving. And if you're solving problems, then that's a big deal. And so, for example, say, hey, I built this website the other day, or I built this instrument the other day, I built whatever the other day. That's actually diving directly into a solution, as opposed to surveying, is this a big enough problem to solve? So really the way it kind of really should flow is figure out what the biggest problems are, talk to a bunch of users, surgeons, nurses, whoever it is, whoever you think could potentially be that potential user to it. Make sure that user or that user group is a niche enough and target enough audience, and then find out what, again, their biggest problem is, and ensure that it's a big enough problem to solve, and then pitch the different types of solutions to said problem. One of those could be, is it, I need sharper scissors. Well, is it really sharp scissors you need, or do you need a better methodology to cut that tissue? And maybe it's not scissors, maybe it's harmonic scalpel, maybe it's something we haven't even thought of yet. So instead of diving directly into solution space, truly think outside of the box about how to solve a problem that's big enough and worthy enough to be solved. And I think if you do that, that's really the start of it. And then beyond that, I mean, there's tons of books out there. Like I said, the Lean Product Playbook is probably one of the best ones to get through that product process, that minimally viable product process, and what that means, and how to iterate, how to build, how to scale, how to adjust, how to speak to users, which we're obsessed with. How to do that in a truly scalable and limber fashion, and then beyond that, I think that in terms of like incorporation, in terms of getting legal opinions and trademarks, those are probably out of scope for conversation, but really do need a solid team to bounce that stuff off of.
Mark, it's been an awesome conversation as always. Where can people go to find the SurgeON app and platform, and if they want to find out more about it, how do they get a hold of you? Yeah,
so if you just go to surgeon.app, surgeon, the word surgeon.app, it'll take you directly to the kind of the informational website, all about the platform. It'll tell you a little bit about it, what it includes, screenshots, kind of guided walkthroughs, and how it works. And also you can download the application. Just type the word SurgeON or SurgeON, it's just a play on the word surgeon, in your Android or iOS app store. Again, it's US based only at the moment, but we are imminently launching internationally. In terms of me, contact me, mark@surgeonapp.com. And we're on all social media, on platform, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and SurgeON, and YouTube at Mark Soliman. And so, definitely look us up, look me up. Happy to have more conversations about this.
Fantastic. If you have a few minutes, Mark, maybe could you demo the platform
Please,
for us?
Yeah, would
That'd
love
be
to.
awesome.
Yeah, all right. So let me share my screen.
Make sure.
Sharing.
Yeah.
There it is.
There you go.
Great. All right, so you're on my phone now, and so right now we're basically in the application, or this is my phone, and you can see it's just like any other social networking application. The icon at the top left is SurgeON, so we'll tap into it, and basically just loads your SurgeON feed. And just like you would imagine, it's a social networking application. So you can have a feed, and right now this is my home feed based upon my preferences. So this is Dr. Layla Rashidi just posted a video on a colostomy reversal, a rectal stump leak, and extensive lysis adhesions. Actually, SurgeON, we now have swag, by the way. So this stuff will be going on sale soon. So I just got that in the mail the other day. But so this is what the SurgeON feed looks like, and you can see that there's different feeds. There's a random feed, there's a billion coding community, there's a HPV community, and so basically what it exists is that the SurgeON is built specifically around community, and the whole crux and the DNA of the application is around community. So we have, for example, a colorectal surgery community, a trauma community, cardiothoracic community, a hernia community. And let's say I went into colorectal, you're going to be able to see every post with specific regard to colorectal surgery. We see there's 1,800 members, there's 510 posts. The posts exist here. You can see all the live webinars that are to be occurring in this community in a couple of days. You also see the list of members here. And let's say I went into one of these videos. I can see Dr. Rashidi here, just about to do this robotic colostomy takedown. You also see that she's tagged it with specific tags: colostomy takedown, robotic, and colorectal. And I'll show you what that means and looks like in just a second. But what I'm able to do is I'm actually able to give her a scalpel rating. It's kind of a 1 to 5 Likert scale about the quality of that post. And people that comment, I can also upvote or downvote their comments based upon the quality and the content of that post. Why this is important is when you back out here just for a moment, is I can come back to the home feed and I can say, you know what, I'm really interested in doing I got a case tomorrow, and that case is worrying me, and I really want to watch videos. So I want to watch all the videos of the platform that are in colorectal surgery, for example, and I only want the abdominal cases, and I only want, let's see here, let's go to colostomy takedown, and I only want the robotic colostomy takedown videos. So I can actually filter and show the results, and sure enough, here's Layla's video. There's an integral course that I ran a while back, and that allows you basically to curate and search. But we can actually take that one more step. Let's say I'm actually going to search for transverse colectomy. Now I want to take it down to the individual operative step. I can actually say, you know what, I want to look for robotic transverse colectomies with an intracorporeal colocolonic hand-sewn anastomosis. And actually I can do that exact same search and find all the videos relative to a hand-sewn colorectal robotic anastomosis. And if I wanted to be even more granular, I could say, I only want those videos in Crohn's disease. I only want them in the colorectal community, for example. So just filter only for colorectal. I only want the best videos. I don't want the 1 scalpel rating and up. I only want, say, like the 3 scalpel ratings and up. And I only want it within a specific date range. And I only want a specific user's posts to come up. And of course, this is a very tight, narrow criteria. So there's not going to be many results in this, but you get the idea that there's a tremendous amount of ability to kind of search for things. And these are just the trending posts on the platform based on the number of upvotes and the number of views that a specific video has. Like this is a laparoscopic tap block done by a gynecologist that has 6,600 views on the platform, for example. SurgeON also has, of course, webinars, but we also have this new section called events. And this is super exciting, is because right here, this is a meeting that we just concluded, the Orlando Colorectal Congress, which is available now for everyone to view. We will pretty soon have all the information uploaded into the platform. But this is, let's say, for example, I'm attending the meeting. I can see, okay, what are the objectives of the meeting, the accreditation statement, who were the sponsors, what things are there to do in the city, who gave us grants, and so on. But I can also say, okay, you know what is on the full agenda for the meeting? There's a high resolution anoscopy course on Wednesday. There was all the plenary sessions on Thursday. I can go to, say, the malignancy session and see who spoke with the malignancy session. I can read all about the different surgeons that spoke. I can see Dr. Monson here, for example, he moderated all these different sessions at OCC and attended that. And I can also see exactly which posts that he left on the platform as well, as an example. So this really allows us to interweave the entirety of the platform from the meeting aspect into the community aspect. And there's of course a lot more to the platform than this, but the idea here is truly allowing the totality of surgery to exist in one holistic ecosystem that allows for good encouragement and discussion. So yeah, that's in a very brief nutshell what SurgeON is. I mean, I didn't go into the complexity, and the posts themselves can be as simple as a 280 character tweet, or as complex as a 55,000 character book chapter with up to 30 gigabytes of videos and media that can exist. And that's kind of what this section here is. I can just put content according to a post. So all this, I'm just randomly putting characters here, but you get the idea, and I can actually place videos and place them in a specific community depending upon what we're actually talking about, and go there. And of course, we also have encrypted private messaging in the application. So that, in a nutshell, is what SurgeON is today. And we're a year young, and we've come a long way in just 1 year. I'm excited to see where we are and where the community takes us over the next 12, 18 and months, and 12 to 18 years moving forward.
Mark, it's amazing. Like, I'm particularly intrigued by the tagging of such specific steps, because I think that would have been incredible as a trainee. So do you have someone who's like come up with all these tags or filters a priori, or is that something that's sort of evolving over time?
Yeah, very good question. So we initially it was myself and a few of the founders just coming up with all the most common tags. And let me show you what they look like. This is what the tagging index looks like. So basically, if I choose the specialty, let's say I choose colorectal, for example, it's going to then give me, for example, what domain. This is like, am I operating in the domain of the abdomen, the inner rectum, or the lumen? So let's say I just pick the lumen, for example. Then it's going to give me only those specific tags of the lumen, which is going to be anoscopy, colonoscopy, ESD, EMR, Zenkers, and TAMIS. And so I can tag it as a TAMIS operation, for example. And then it's also going to give me which approach. Did I use a robotic, a hand assist, a lap, for example? And which operative step is relevant to that one to this one operation, for example. And then I can also give it the diagnosis that goes to that specific operation. So in a roundabout way to answer your question, initially these were created by the founders of the company, but now we have many of our KOLs, or key opinion leaders, that exist in the application: bariatric surgeons, trauma surgeons, breast surgeons, residents in colorectal. We have all sorts of different people that are helping contribute to this library, because to think that we can think of every single named operation is kind of a joke. And so if I were to change this to abdominal, for example, you're going to see that the list grows tremendously, and these are just the ones that we thought of. So the point is, there's a lot more to grow, and we continue to add operations to this. And the idea here is to truly centralize, and as the company's name is, to unify surgery. I mean, our company name is Surgery Unified Inc. The idea is we want to unify surgery, so we want everything in the application. We want anything that has to do with surgery in the platform, and that's kind of the idea behind this.
Absolutely incredible. Wow.
So let's see. Yeah. So they got chest for breast approach, and all the different operations that we've attached to breast surgery, for example. So anyway, there's a lot more to it. Yeah.
So Mark, do you have moderators as well too? I know we didn't really touch about on this as much, but occasionally people do get into kind of arguments, even
Oh
on
yeah.
even surgeons.
Yeah.
Should I say even surgeons? Especially surgeons
Yeah.
get into
Exactly.
arguments. So do you have moderators and stuff to kind of
Yeah.
say
Oh
like,
yeah.
hey, calm down?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. So let's say, for example, that like this image here is offensive or whatever. I can actually come up here. I can report the user, or I can report the post, and say this is a HIPAA or privacy violation. It's spam. It's nudity of sexual activity, and this is important that sometimes nudity is actually very appropriate. Obviously, there's an anus or a breast or genital in the surgical context, which just will be immediately vetted, immediately filtered out on like Facebook or Twitter, but some of it's very relevant to have here. So if I were to report someone or something, then it immediately goes to our team of moderators on the back end for us to moderate that content. So absolutely, and then we are very quick to act upon this stuff here, if you will, and very quick to let me tell you, I mean, we are hyper focused on the integrity and the protection and the safety of the community, hyper focused. So while we don't moderate voice, we absolutely do monitor to ensure that the platform remains safe, remains protected, and remains professional at all times.
And folks who want to take this stuff and like whatever they post on here, they can still submit it to, let's say, a journal or whatever. Like that's not considered an issue, right?
No, not whatsoever. In fact, we're not implicit, we are explicit. SurgeON does not own any content. We only want to be a platform. And this is very different from some of our competitors because they want to own all the content. So it's no longer yours. But we are explicit in that you retain ownership, so you never have to worry about, can I repost this somewhere else, or can I publish it elsewhere? And so it's not published here. You own it. You're just kind of getting feedback, if you will. And so many of us will actually post abstracts and manuscripts and research ideas just to get feedback from the community. And then even get help with, for example, just iterating and ideating around a project, and even a video before we publish it and before we send it out. And it's, again, because of that express data ownership that exists and stays with the surgeon and with the surgical society at all times.
Is there any thoughts, Mark, about for journal articles or like it's so hard to keep track of papers, and that was one nice thing about Twitter was being able to really like keep on top of new papers and stuff. I know. So beyond people, let's say, posting about it, or is there any specific like I'm intrigued by your vision of like having everything on the app, right? Like having everything that's related to surgery on the app. So is there any thoughts about specifically partnering with journals or even textbooks and things like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if I were to type let's just say rectal cancer, what we are in the process of doing is studying our users. And we've done several, oops, that's spelled wrong. But basically where we'll eventually come here is there definitely is a desire to partner formally with more with more medical journals and surgical journals in the application, but also we have on our roadmap an integration directly with PubMed. And what that PubMed integration would look like is actually you type in the search field and you actually search PubMed directly from your application, from the application here. So you no longer have to go to pubmed.gov. You can search it here and then do that entire PubMed search. You can chat about the articles, the abstracts, the manuscripts, and so on from within the application. That's on our roadmap to build. And we hope that becomes a value add to the user base as it is. But yes, we absolutely want and really desire to have a growing partnership with more and more medical journals, podcasts, and so on, so that way we can even centralize podcasts into one central area.
Well, thanks so much again for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise, thank you for the privilege and honor. I really do appreciate it. And let's it's not a small project. It's a massive and monumental lift. But I feel like, as surgeons, we find something broken, we fix it. There's an issue, there's no challenge that's too big for us to kind of go after. And I think as a community, a very strong and innovative surgeons like all of us are here. You are on the Coastal podcast. I feel like we can truly move the needle in unifying surgery, and we want to be a part of that conversation.
You've been listening to Cold Steel, the official podcast of the Canadian Journal of Surgery. If you like what you've heard, please leave us a review on iTunes. We love to hear your thoughts, comments, and feedback, so send us an email at podcast.cjs@gmail.com or tweet at us at CanJSurge. Thanks again.